This is an overview of the Are They Right About the Risk? Relative size and argumentation activity, appropriate for high schoolers or for middle schoolers with support, or even elementary school students, perhaps after doing some of the earlier lessons. So the first slide in each of our lessons covers the big ideas. This lesson relates to some major high school standards as well as the mathematical practice standard relating to argumentation. The student objective, as in the other lessons, is to use the real-world context of risk to find and interpret relative size between two risks expressed as percentages. As you can see at the bottom of many slides are teacher's notes. We have additional ideas on what to say, feedback on what happened when we implemented the lesson in the past, and potential other ideas, including other links that you can share with students. We have an intro question to have the students start to think about their main ideas about COVID-19. And then this lesson moves very quickly into the Relative Risk app. You can give the students the link and encourage them to play around with it to get familiar with all the different information that it contains. And then we have a quick warm-up activity to encourage students to think about the times as much comparison. If you've already done the middle school lesson as a warm-up, you might just go ahead and skip this. But if not, this is a warm-up to help the students remember that the times as much as comparison is an extremely useful tool. And then we move into the main body of the lesson. For each post, we ask the students to come up with potential responses, but also to use the relative risk tool to gather data to back up their arguments. So we have several different posts. Sally that said, it's much more likely to die from a car crash than COVID-19, so I'm not getting the vaccine. This first post included a couple of specific questions to guide the students in trying to figure out how to use the relative risk tool to use accurate data to respond to a post like this. Bill says COVID-19 is much safer than bull riding and there are too many side effects from a COVID-19 vaccine. And from then on, we just have a general question about, do you agree or disagree? Why? Write a response. Louisa is scared to get a vaccine. Mina is trying to decide about a party for a great-grandmother. Beth is trying to ascertain how risky COVID-19 is compared to other frequent activities. And John is thinking about masks, and we ask them to talk about the difference between personal and community risks. And finally, the lesson ends with some general questions. Even though I went through this lesson pretty fast, it takes the students a while to work through these different posts. When we implemented this lesson, we had more success when we had the students work in small groups to write their responses and then share them out in a whole class instead of working individually. And I don't think that any 1-hour class was able to do all of the different posts. The teachers selected a couple that they thought their students would find useful to respond to. Finally, we added a lot of other potential discussion questions that could be used to extend this lesson into a second or third day, and that you could use to align this lesson more with other big ideas that you were going over in your class.